Coach, how are things going this week?
It's going well. A lot of anxious moments, but excited to get to the game. So these kids have done a nice job, and proud of the way they prepared. So next step is to go out and actually play against somebody else.
Well, you've been through this before. Wisconsin, of course, Utah State. What is it like? I mean, can you get a sense, even though you have new players, new kids, can you get a sense for what you have? Or are you just going to have to suit up and see what happens?
Well, I think you get a real feel of a few things as you go through the off season. You try to, develop a team in a lot of different ways. And number one, hopefully they like each other. I think these kids have a good family atmosphere amongst themselves. You try to get mental toughness and physical toughness. And when they compete against each other on the practice field, they appear to have both. But I would definitely say that you need to get to a game and compete against other people to see exactly where you sit, especially when you're as youthful as we are. So many young men are walking into research for the first time to play in front of their crowd. A lot of emotions, a lot of different things fit into that. So we'll know a lot more after we play a game. Game one, it's about taking care of your business regardless of the opponent, in my opinion. And, so it's going to be it's a little bit of a stressful moments for coaches as you go through and you try to make sure you're doing everything exactly right to get them prepared. But, sooner or later, young men got to go out there and compete. I'm excited to watch them play.
Well, I know the kids will be nervous, but do you still get nervous for these things? And is it different with a new program versus someplace that you've been for, a number of years?
First games really always feel the same to me. It's a nerve-wracking time, and I don't know if nervous is the right word, but more of, nerve-wracking. Just because as a coach, you want to do so much for the kids to put them in positions that are going to come their way. And you try to look at them all, but it's a crazy-shaped ball, and things always pop up that were unexpected, and just so it's very nerve-wracking as far as just getting to the point to where hopefully you've done everything you can as a coach to let them be able to go out and play carefree, physical football and play the game that they love. So it's sooner the game gets here, the better. Let's put it that way.
Everyone always asks you about the quarterbacks. I'm a former offensive lineman. I always ask about the offensive line. Sayamalu being at right guard. Here's a guy that has played center, one of the better ones in the country at that, played both tackle positions. Him moving to guard, does that say something about the strength of your tackles, or why was that move made?
Well, I just think for Isaac right now, it's the best spot for us. You're exactly right. And two linemen speaking to each other right now together. You want to get the best five out there. It gives us the best opportunity. And Isaac has the ability to play all three, and quite frankly, I believe play all three of them very well. So we'll continue with him there, but he has the ability to move when he needs or where he needs to go to help us, be the best five guys that we have out there. But we're still really careful with him during camp, and we still are today. He's still not going through every practice all the way through, and as much as he would like to, we're going to continue down those roads just to keep him in a spot to be ready to play and keep him, out of harm's way as much as we possibly can. We just need to get Isaac to Saturday. So that's the goal. Mitchell has played so many snaps at center in this league and has proven to be a very talented player. And we've got a lot of players back on an offensive line. So it fits us best, and I believe it fits him best for today's purposes anyway.
So now that we've got the O-line out of the way, let's ask about the quarterback situation. You're running two redshirt freshmen. How much of your offense do you have to dial back, knowing that you've got two guys that have never taken a live bullet there, or is this a full complement, full go right from the get-go?
No, absolutely. And, Coach Baldwin's offense and the mixture of what Coach McGivern and the whole offensive staff, I think Coach Woods brings a huge dynamic. Coach Lockett brings a great dynamic, and so does Brent. So this staff works really well together. But if you say we have all the offense that we're going to have in, 6-7 weeks from now, a year from now, it'll be much, much more. What we've tried to do is be able to get a package for the offense that either quarterback can run, and quite frankly, that Nick Mitchell can come in and run that offense too if he needs to in those situations. You have to have that. Then we basically created a call sheet, if you will, that best fits Seth and best fits Marcus. And that gives us the ability to be able to play both those quarterbacks and get a call sheet that is best for them, because they are different. They have a different skill set, but yet they have to run the base offense when needed, and then they have to do what's best for them, or we have to do what's best for them with their skill set. So it's a little bit of a complicated scheme as you go through it, but we've been preparing for this now for weeks, so it's not like, hey, today we're going to play 2 quarterbacks. Let's see how it goes. There's definitely a plan in place to be able to put these kids in a position to make plays.
Do you find in these 2 quarterback situations, I'm assuming this isn't the first time you've had it, that over the course of a couple games or a month that they just naturally work itself out and one guy tends to assert himself?
Yeah, I think it usually does. Certain situations, and I've said it many times, at Northwestern, those kids finished their career before it settled away as far as where they were going to go. And we'll just let it turn around and play out. Then one of the key things here that we all need to remember is that not one of these young men have taken a snap. So we have got to get some game experience underneath them as we move forward. It would be tragic if all of a sudden we had one quarterback that played 5 games, and then all of a sudden chin strap breaks and a young man walks into the game for the first time and has to play a series and he's never played before. I just don't think that's smart as you look at the season as a whole. And you're always looking at one game at a time, but you also have to be smart and look at the season as a whole and what's best for the team. We need to get some experience so down the line a young man's not put in a completely unfamiliar situation.
This is Oregon State coach Gary Andersen. He'll be with us every week at this time on 1080 The Fan and Comcast Sportsnet. Quarterbacks, it seems, don't wait their turn much anymore in college football. A lot of transferring. Guys don't sit and wait for a couple of years to start. I mean, there are guys that do it, but it seems like this is more of a trend. So it's hard to keep guys who don't play. Did that factor in at all into your quarterback competition? And do you think about that as you move forward with the quarterbacks?
It's nothing it did not figure into this situation at all. Quarterbacks, it's the bottom line is we try to have 4 quarterbacks on scholarship, and there's a reason behind that. Number one, they're very difficult to find a guy that can actually put you in a position to play at a high level and contend for championships. And secondly, what you just said, there's one quarterback that plays usually, and he gets the majority of the snaps. And as you go through a program and you get yourself solidified, there's going to be a starting quarterback, and the other young men are going to have to understand that they have to either beat out the starter, depending on what year he is or where he sits, or he sees a window of opportunity that's coming his way, or he's going to understand that he has to be content with being a second and finding his way through there. So it is always a heads-up situation for us to sit here and say, hey, you'll never have a quarterback transfer when you work to have 4 of them, on the board of scholarship players. I think that's a little bit of a stretch. So we'll always be honest and upfront with the kids like we are at every position, but you try to create as much competition as you can within each position, within each side of the football, and also within your team. And if it doesn't fit the young man as he goes through the program, then we'll support him and help him get along his way. But we want them to stay. We recruited them here, so we want them to stay as long as they want to be part of us and do the things we're asking them to do.
You talked about the youth. I think your game notes said you have the 9th youngest team in college football. Big House is next week. How big is the Overlook concern for you?
Oh, I don't think that's a problem at all. I think these kids, they're looking to get to that first snap and move into the adventures of playing in Reeser and having our fans with us. And that game is such a far distance out there in these kids' minds, and quite frankly, all our coaches right now. We got one thing to do right now, and that's find a way to go out and play well at home and get a victory against Weber State, and then we'll move on. But with the youthfulness is nothing we've ever ran from. It's nothing we're going to make excuses because we are youthful, but we do understand it, and it's something that we talk about. So getting in the moment for this week is all that matters, and we've stressed it. I think they're in a good spot when it comes to that, but we're going to know a lot more in a couple 3 days here.
Everyone talks about offense, and yet, I mean, you're a defensive guy. I mean, Kalani Sitake, I think, one of the better young coordinators in the game. But the state of defense in college football today, it's tough. Just talk about the challenges of having to build a defense in today's college football, where it doesn't seem like a whole lot of defense is played.
Yeah, it is. It's more and more difficult. You sit back and you involve the quarterback in the run game, then you're going to face a quarterback that has the ability to run. An offensive coordinator that will run a quarterback that can beat you with his arm and can beat you with your mind, and it becomes very difficult to be able to play coverages in the run game, in the throw game, that don't become major issues without free safeties, and those safeties have to be involved in the run, and the quarterback run the play action that comes off of it. And so it's made defense very difficult to play. It causes the kids to understand more. Pre-snap awareness is on high alert for us as far as tendencies and what can come out of this formation. Different personnel packages are so key now. And, years ago it wasn't that way. I remember when I was coordinating, it was just simply if they came in with a two-back, one tight end, two wide-out set, man, I'd go base and away we go. But now they're spreading the field with that same group of people, and you have to be so much more dynamic within your own sets as a defense to be able to line up against anything in any situation. Then you throw pace on top of it. And, let's be honest, pace is there to throw the defense off. Number one, get them tired. Number two, to cause confusion. And number three, to allow the defensive coordinator to not be able to be part of the game plan and make the call he wants because he has to stay within the package that he's in. So it's made it much more difficult. It puts more onto the kids. It forces the kids now to have to be in command of that ship much more than a coordinator was, say, 5-7 years ago.
Speaking of coordinators, we'll let you go, but I wanted you to confirm or deny. I was reading in the Oregonian Gina's piece about Dave Baldwin. Does he really drink 16 to 18 Diet Cokes a day?
Oh, I've heard that was running rampant around here today in the offices. So, well, let me just put it this way. He walks in here with, I think it's probably I'm guessing an 18-pack every single day when he hops out of his car. So a lot of us come in with a cup of coffee or what have you, but he walks in with a case or a half a case or whatever it is of Diet Coke. So those numbers would be relatively close, I would say, and it's nothing he hides from. He's kind of proud of it, actually.
Well, at least it's not Coors Light.
Yeah, you got that right. Yes, but much better. Yeah, we'll stick with the Diet Coke there. We go. We'll be all good. Interesting part of it.
Hey, good luck on Friday. Thank you. We'll talk to you next week. Okay.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Go Dudes.
There he goes, Gary Andersen. If you're just tuning in, the Oregon State coach will join us at 5:15 every single Wednesday.
Welcome into the Talking Ball set. Dan Sheldon, Cam Cleland, Nigel Burton, Dwight Janes talking about Oregon State opening up their football season on Friday against Weber State. Gary Andersen taking over a 5-7 program. Does it get worse before it gets better, though?
Unfortunately, yes, it will. I mean, the 5-7 last year, it is hard to find 4 wins on the schedule right now. When you take a look at it and break it down team by team and strengths and all those things, 5 will take a minor miracle, and I think Carson York threw out 6 just to mess with it.
I think when you're dealing with trying to figure out your quarterbacks, Seth Collins, Marcus McMaryion, early, they both had pretty good springs. McMaryion came out of nowhere. No one expected him to move up the depth chart. But again, energy only gets you so far. Something new only gets you so far. They'll know right away week 2 what they have.
His teams have always defended pretty well. Do you expect that, Nigel? Will that carry over to here?
They have to. They have to. To get anywhere near 5 wins, I mean, when you look at the schedule, San Jose State, Weber State, they can pull those off. I think going to Pullman is going to be scary. I watched both those practices, and Pullman, the Cougs have some really crazy talent, especially a wide receiver. They're on the road. It doesn't bode well.
Some thinking the Cougs this year might have the second most wins in the northwest of the Pac-12 behind just the Ducks. Ahead of Washington, ahead of Oregon State.
Not ahead of Stanford.
We'll see. No, not ahead of Stanford. The Northwest, above.
Oh, no.
Where is Cal?
Oh,
Join us on Tuesday. Enjoy your Labor Day. We'll see you next Tuesday at 7 p.m. for a brand new Talking Ball.